Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating. The quest for English fluency. But this isn't your typical language lesson. Our source material today, well, it challenges conventional wisdom in some pretty surprising ways.
It really does. Our deep dive today is centered around this online video, and it makes some very bold claims. The title is The Secret English Fluency Formula No One Tells You.
Wow.
And yeah, it promises proven tricks, secret hacks, ways to essentially rewire your brain for fluent English.
Rewire your brain.
Using science, apparently. And it even goes so far as to state, quite bluntly, that everything you know about learning English is wrong.
Everything. Okay, that's a hook. So our goal today is really to dig into what this source means by its secrets. What are they? And importantly for you listening, we want to pull out those actionable insights, those aha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The things that might genuinely help you gain that fluency, maybe faster or more effectively than you thought.
Right. And speaking of bold claims, the first big one from this source is that apparently 90% of learners, they're just wasting time with traditional methods. Because, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think the source claims, your brain learns English like music, not math.
Yeah, that music, not math analogy is quite striking, isn't it? It immediately suggests, moving away from just memorizing grammar rules rigidly.
Like it's not about equations.
Exactly. The implication isn't just a minor tweak in technique. It feels like a fundamental shift. Like, stop treating language as this complex puzzle you have to solve piece by piece and start treating it more like an experience you just absorb.
Intuitively.
Almost like you pick up a song,
Yeah.
You feel the rhythm, the melody. You might not even know the theory behind it, but you internalize it.
Okay, I get that. So from that music idea, what are the actual hacks it suggests, the practical stuff?
Well, that's where it gets quite unconventional.
Right. First it says stop studying grammar first.
Yep.
Just stop. And instead it advises you to steal sentences from movie songs.
Yeah, forget the verb conjugation drills for a bit, apparently.
Huh. Okay. And then there's something called the shadowing trick.
That's essentially repeating what you hear, like mimicking dialogue almost immediately, like a parrot, as the source puts it.
Like a parrot. Okay. But wait, it also says speak before you're ready. That feels counterintuitive. A lot of people, myself included sometimes, feel paralyzed by making mistakes. How does this approach deal with that fear?
That's a really important question. The source sort of tackles this by reframing mistakes. They're not failures, they're just part of the process, part of finding the melody, you could say.
So embrace the errors.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It pushes back against that perfectionism that holds so many learners back. So stealing sentences, shadowing. It's about getting you out of that analytical mode, that constant self-correction loop that slows you down.
Right, the inner critic.
Exactly. It aims for that quick, almost automatic recall that we associate with real fluency, moving past just knowing the rules to actually using the language, actively imitating it.
Okay, that makes sense. Active imitation, not just passive learning. So building on that, the video then goes somewhere even more unexpected. It talks about a weird science trick focusing on the physical part of speaking. The claim is, your tongue has a memory.
Yeah, it's a fascinating angle, focusing purely on the mechanics. The idea is, to sound more native, you actually need to train the muscles in your mouth and tongue through what it calls exaggerated practice.
Exaggerated practice.
It's less about literal memory, maybe, and more about building muscle memory, rapid muscle memory. Like an athlete drills specific movements until they're automatic.
Okay.
So your tongue, your lips, your jaw become quicker and more precise at forming English sounds, rather than you having to consciously think about how to make each sound.
Gotcha. And it actually gives exercises for this, specific things to do.
Oh yeah, and they sound, well, a bit silly, as the source admits.
Like what?
Like silly mouth exercises. Things where you deliberately overpronounce sounds that might be tricky, like TH or R.
So really stretching those sounds out. Probably best done in private, right?
Probably wise, yeah. Then it mentions tongue twisters. We've all heard those.
She sells seashells, that kind of thing.
Exactly, the classic stuff. And finally, a really practical one. Record and compare.
Oh, okay, so listen to yourself.
Yeah, record your own voice, then listen back and compare it directly to a native speaker saying the same thing, to actually hear the difference and adjust.
That seems really useful, actually. Less silly than the others, maybe.
Well, even the seemingly silly ones, like the exaggerated sounds and tongue twisters, they serve a purpose. They're designed to build that muscle memory, that phonetic accuracy. You're essentially programming your speech muscles.
Programming your tongue.
In a way, yeah. It highlights that fluency isn't just mental, it's physical too. It's about what your mouth can do almost automatically.
Right. Which makes sense when you think about how native speakers talk without consciously thinking about tongue placement. Okay, so we've got the music approach, the tongue training. What about fitting this into a busy life? Does it offer anything for people short on time?
It does, yeah. And this part is very practical. It introduces the 5-minute daily fluency challenge.
Only 5 minutes. That sounds manageable.
Exactly. It's presented as this really accessible, consistent routine.
Okay, what's involved?
It really emphasizes simplicity and doing it every day. Consistency. The idea is to weave English into tiny moments, creating constant low-pressure immersion.
Like microdosing English practice.
Kind of. It's about making it a background hum in your day, not a huge scheduled event.
Okay, so what are the 3 daily habits in this 5-minute challenge?
They're remarkably simple. First, wake up and immediately think in English.
Immediately, like before coffee.
Apparently.
Mm.
Even just simple thoughts. The example given is like, ugh, coffee,
Yeah.
eat coffee. Just internal monologue, but in English.
Huh. Okay, I could probably manage that. What's second?
Second, describe your day aloud. As you're doing things, just narrate it briefly, like you're the star of your own little reality show.
Okay, now I'm making toast. That sort of thing.
Precisely, just talking yourself through mundane actions, but in English.
Interesting. And the third one?
Third, text in English only.
Only English. What about emojis?
Emojis are allowed, apparently. So just switching your default texting language.
Okay, those do sound simple. Almost too simple.
Well, the idea is that these little daily practices, done consistently, build that intuitive feel. They integrate English into your actual life, your thoughts, your communications. It reinforces the idea that fluency isn't just for the classroom.
It's a living thing.
Exactly. Continuous, low-stakes exposure keeps the language buzzing in your brain and, well, on your tongue.
Right. So let's recap this whole secret formula we've distilled from the source. It seems to boil down to learn like music, train your tongue physically, and speak every damn day, even if it's just narrating toast making. And the source really drives home that point. Knowledge is useless without action. You have to do these things.
Right.
And this whole approach, it claims, is designed to rewire your brain, to help you reach that point of speaking without thinking, which, let's face it, is the goal for many learners. It really challenges that traditional, sometimes painfully slow path to fluency.
It does. It suggests a different way entirely.
Yeah, if you connect it to the bigger picture, it's suggesting quite a significant shift in how we even approach learning. Less purely cognitive, more holistic. Embodied, even.
Embodied learning for language. Interesting. So for you listening, we really encourage you to think about how these ideas might apply to you. Could these secret hacks work? Not just for English, maybe, but for any skill where you feel stuck with conventional methods, where maybe a more intuitive, action-oriented approach could unlock faster progress.
That's a great point. The principles might be broader.
And the source also teases this idea of understanding fast English, like you hear in movies, right?
Yeah.
That rapid, natural speech.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to consider. If learning like music and physically training your tongue can unlock speaking without thinking, what does that imply about how fast our brains can actually process and absorb new information? Are traditional methods, maybe, underestimating our learning speed? Are we perhaps holding back our own learning velocity without even realizing it?
A provocative question indeed. Are we capable of learning much faster than we think?
Something to definitely mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope exploring these secret formulas gives you some fresh ideas for your own learning journey.